The 2021 Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 2, Filmvolt 12 Hours of Silverstone, is brought to you in partnership with ESTV, Leak Gaming, SimLab, Motorvision.tv, Global Flix, Racing for Green, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.
Welcome back to the Filmvolt 12 Hours of Silverstone for round 2 of the 2021 GTR 24H Endurance E-Racing World Championship. A big welcome once again to all our viewers at Amazon Fire, Roku, and also our new platform that we're broadcasting on, eSports Television. My name is Alex Goldschmidt, and returning back to the commentary box is Yusuf bin Suhail. At the moment, at the top of the hour here at Silverstone, Henry Sinnick still leading in the hypercar class for PinSim Drillers Esports in the number 10. Marcel Sinsik in the number 117, leading in LMP2. And then GTE is Fabio Liuzzi, and it seems like there could be a possibility of a Musto melee because Marco Massetti is closing in on the number 54 car, leading GTE at the moment. GT3, the number 717, Alexander Sakharov, Unison Racing, Aston Martin still leading. But Yusuf, we saw that bit of a contretemps, so to speak, between the number 7 car, that is the Pescara ADG car, and obviously Fabio Liuzzi really giving as good as he could get. And even with back marker traffic, we were very much impressed on how it got very clean, but then things nearly went a bit of a dust up there between the pair of them, wasn't there?
Yeah, and I think the Musto car just outbraked themselves ever so slightly. Either that or they just braked at the same point, but Pescara braked a bit earlier than usual, and Musto just gave a little tap on the rear, and it was enough to make the Pescara car of... it wasn't Eros Masquili. I think it was Michael Francesconi at the time, just run, that extra 10-15 meters wider through Village, which just let the Musto car slot through. So he got past. There hasn't been any words from the stewards, so we will assume that it was a clean move unless we hear otherwise. And now Musto 1-2, and Marco Massetti is flying. He's running about a second a lap quicker than Fabio Liuzzi as well, so we can really expect that Musto dust up or that Musto melee to come through.
Yeah, a melee at Musto, that is incoming. And looking at the lap times, Massetti did a one right. We've just had an information from Race Control that number 404, the Glam Racing GT3 Aston Martin, currently running P29 overall, and looks to be running in around about 5th place. That's got Henrik Kohler behind the wheel of that car. They've noticed that they have made an unsafe release when entering the circuit, so that could be from a possible pit stop there, and that will definitely incur something in the midst of a drive-through penalty there from Race Control. Again, not the best of luck for that team. They were running in the top 3 earlier on in this race, but we could see the likes of Callum Wilson getting behind the wheel and possibly getting that car back into the top 3 in the latter stages, Yusuf. But with, we're now into hour number 5 of this 12-hour race. There's still quite a lot, as looks like Sinsik has pitted again from the lead in LMP2 in the Vargas Sim Racing 117.
Yeah, and it's now Daniel Wisner at the helm of the 117 Vargas Sim Racing car. Also, James Huber has pitted. Now, he came out about 11 to 12 seconds behind Christopher Kianik. That was about 4 minutes ago, just when we had gone into ad break. Now that we're back, 4 minutes later, James Huber is under 7 seconds behind Christopher Kianik. They are on different strategies, so Christopher was able to stretch out that gap after he had pitted, about 20 minutes before James Huber. But now James Huber has got some fresh tyres on the car. He is really closing in. We're talking about over a second a lap. We could be in for a good old battle, maybe around the same time as the good old Musto dust up. But right as I say that, Fabio Liuzzi has matched Marco Massetti's time.
Yes, indeed. And in the leading car, there has been a change of driver. Jan Wojnicka is now behind the wheel of the leading hypercar in the PinSim Drillers Esports car. Was Henry Sinnick at one point, but now Jan Wojnicka now gets an opportunity to stretch the legs of the McLaren Senna GTR, a 4-litre V8 turbocharged engine producing 800 PS and around about 1,000 kilos of downforce. This car is an absolute beast, isn't it, Yusuf? I mean, just looking at the aero on that thing, I mean, if Adrian Newey had designed that car, we'd all be singing his praises right now.
Yeah, that is very true. To be honest, I think if Adrian Newey designs any car, we end up singing his praise no matter what happens. And if the car doesn't do well, then there must be something else that is the issue. But maybe Adrian Newey had some input on that design. Who knows?
Yeah, it could have. Yeah, who knows? McLaren might have just. Considering the fact he used to work for McLaren in the Formula One team when the likes of Kimi Raikkonen, Juan Pablo Montoya, Mika Hakkinen, David Coulthard worked at that team. I still remember when Raikkonen was still pushing for a victory, and then the left front suspension collapsed because the car was so fragile. The tyre literally came off the rim, exploded, and then sent Kimi into the gravel. So you can just see that the cars that Adrian Newey designs are very, very balletic in their appearance, but also in how they perform. But then you see, like back in those days in the early 2000s when Formula One was really, really on song, V10, V12 engines.
Oh, yeah.
18,000 RPM, literally screaming the houses down like they would have done here around about a decade and a half ago here at Silverstone. But now, you're seeing these cars. I mean, just looking at the way that the number 10 Pin Sim Drillers esports car is coming through Maggots and then into Beckett's and then through into Chapel, that car is so low to the ground. I'm not at all surprised that if we do see sparks fly from the rear diffuser, that is absolutely Herculean, that car. And Woznica at the moment is running in the 146.5s, and that is 1.6 seconds quicker on that last lap. That was lap number 164 ahead of Patrick Silvasi from Omicron Sim Racing. So we thought that Omicron Sim Racing would have a point to prove, but then Drillers Esports just went and ripped up the playbook, and I think they threw all the pages in the shredder and said, three wide. Oh my goodness, Jan Woznica has got no fear. Woznica got no fear going through Vale, and that car, it looks like it's on the limit of adhesion. I've just seen it go through Abbey and Farm Curve and then take the right-hander at Village before going through into the loop. The car was nigh on, looking like it was going to break rear-end traction, and the car just hooked up and took off.
Yeah, I feel like every time anyone gets behind the wheel of the Pin Sim Drillers number 10, they just look in an absolutely different class. James Zuber still pushing 4.2 seconds behind Christopher Kianik right now. Last time around, able to take over a second, and that's with a bit of a moment through Beckett's where he caught up with one of the GT cars right at the wrong moment, and I think that cost him about half a second, but now the gap is just under 4 seconds, actually 3.5 seconds. So James Zuber is pushing in. Within a few laps, we can definitely see a bit of a battle for P2.
Yeah, James Zuber doing his absolute best. He's now coming through. That is Cop's Corner. I'm now going to go on board with him, if I can. He's actually flashing to the Aston Martin just up ahead. So James Zuber absolutely flying. That looks like one of the Volante cars has just gone off, coming out of Maggots and onto Beckett's. I think that might have been one of the Volante cars. I just caught it out of the corner of my eye, as literally Zuber just hooked that LMP2 car up through Maggots, and someone else decided to go grass tracking. And obviously with the realism of this platform here, if you get a lot of grass in that front air dam, that is going to push the engine temperatures up, and that's also going to dirty your tyres. And that is not really good for any mechanical operation in this car, particularly the cooling and the engine systems on the car. We talked about this at Indianapolis, didn't we, Yusuf? We talked about mechanical sympathy. We talked about it in the preview show. Again, there are some drivers that are just absolutely able to nail those apexes, including James Zuber. When he is closing and he's about to pass Donat Diesner up the inside, just literally from nowhere, and he's got in his sights the number 22 of Christopher Klanek in the Mugen Esports car, sim racing car just up ahead. And to be honest with you, that is just an absolutely sterling performance. Once again, Juba has taken 1.2 seconds out of the number 22 on that last lap alone. And he's just literally, I'm just seeing that Klanik has just actually responded as the ProSim 007 goes into the pits after 159 laps. So, Klanik will feel the heat under the collar from Juba, who's got that gap down to around 2.5 seconds, and that gap is closing more predominantly here.
Yep. Under 3 seconds now. Also just being informed as well that Andy Kurtzen in that number 45 DIS SR Lab car now 2 seconds behind Paul Arguslan in the 67 Volante Racing. He took 2 seconds out of Paul on the last lap, and well, I think we're going to be having a bit of a battle for P3 in the GTE class as well as P2 in the LMP2 class. So we'll try our best to keep our eye on both battles. We might even have to go into a bit of a split screen, much to our producer's delight.
Yes, our producers here at GTR24, when they can have the opportunity of having multi-screens up, it's always a joy, not just for us, but also for you all watching at home. A big thank you to everyone tuning in so far on the relevant streaming platforms that we are on. So far as I've just seen that DISSR Lab here, Yusuf, on the last lap, they took about 2 seconds out of the number 67 Volante car. That Porsche is really firing on all 6 cylinders in that flat 6 3.8 litre turbocharged boxer engine.
Well, I'm riding on board with Andy Kurtzen, and you can see that Paul Arguslan really struggling, understeering into every corner, completely missed the apex through Brooklands, and now, well, DIS are so close that they're going to be getting a tow as well right now from Paul Lunn as they make their way on the old start-finish straight and into Copse Corner. The gap is now under a second.
Well, would you believe it? They're now going through into Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, and it looks like Jan Wojcik are splitting the pair of them. Oh, he went up the inside of Lan there, going through into Maggots. That was definitely threading the eye of the needle, but Wojcik had the complete confidence to throw caution to the wind, and now a lot of LMP2 cars are closing on the Pescara number 7 ADG car of Eros Mascioli, and they are some of them are trying to really go for it. And I've just seen, look, James Juba now is with Christopher Klanik. They're coming down the hangar straight away, I believe, or is he? Well, James Juba is still about he's quite close. He's about 2.3 seconds. So he's got a couple of LMP2 cars to get out of the way. I think one of them is the ProSim car. The other one might be, I think that is, let me just have a look. That is the 999 Abstineo Force Polonia car, who are currently running, and that's got Mika Hakimi, currently running in 14th place and in the penultimate position in LMP2 at the moment. So you can just see how hard these guys are driving, as now Juba trying to get up the inside of ProSim, gets past the number 007 as Donat Diesner still is trying to keep away or just keep going. But James Juba is the driver that's really on a mission right now and can't really afford to let this opportunity go, as Likegaard in the 777 is closing on ProSim. So whilst James Juba was trying to get past them, the gap between DSR Nightmare and ProSim has closed to absolutely nothing. And now here, Yusuf, the gap between Juba and Klanik now just under 1.7 seconds. That gap is being truncated by the number 17 from Hinsim Drillers Esports.
Yeah, it's dropping at a rather alarming rate. Last time around it was only 2/10 gained by James Zuba, but I think he struggled to get through traffic, and you can see in the corner of your shot, James Zuba in the centre, and then Christopher Kianik just popping in and out every now and then, but you can be certain that he's not popping in and out of James Zuba's line of sight. He's keeping his eyes firmly on that LMP2 car up ahead and using it as a bit of extra motivation to close in. This is, of course, the battle for second place in the LMP2 class.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, it looks like Klanik actually responded, but Juba's been caught up in a little bit of back market traffic. He's got past one of the Volante cars, and now that gap is going to come down. And it's gone to under a second. They've just come out of Vale, and they're now heading through into Abbey Corner. So James Juba really getting a wriggle on now, trying to get through as they both literally push the limits of adhesion. Going into the right at Abbey, into the left at Farm Curve, now into the right at Village before the next left-hander that puts them onto the loop, and then into Aintree before going down the Wellington Straight. And one of the key points here, ladies and gentlemen, is to just keep an eye, because they've got the WOSR number 51 Porsche GTE car just up ahead as they're now going to go into Brooklands, and that gap has gone down to 6/10. Juba now right in the toe of Klanek. The battle for P2 well and truly on as we are just over 17 minutes into what has been a fantastic 17 minutes into this particular hour. And Yusuf, it is not going away as now Juba going through Cox Corner on the back bumper of Klanek. The move could come, and I think it will be after the Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel complex.
Very likely that the move will be happening in to Stowe Corner, but it will all come down to whether James Juba can get the run through Beckett. He's much closer to the apex. He'll be able to open up that steering just a tiny bit earlier, and he tucks in right behind the prototype car all the way up the hangar straight. Is he close enough? He'll move it to the inside, late on the brakes. You can see the front end just dipping down as he slams on the brakes, and James Juba moves up into second place.
Absolutely fantastic work there by James Juba. Just literally decimated the gap and just kept us all guessing. But up the inside of Stowe Corner, a clean move that puts PinSim Jewelers Esports in the number 17 LMP2 car up into second position, which now keeps them a lap behind the ongoing dominant force in LMP2 in the EEWC for 2021. That is the 117 Vargas Sim Racing car with Daniel Vizner behind the wheel. But also, I've just spotted that between, you remember that battle that we had between Matthias Blom and Donat Diesner, Yusuf?
Yes.
That started to accelerate again, I believe, because the gap between them is about 1.2 seconds. Diesner trying to close on Matthias Blom, and this could be rather tasty, I think, in terms of just having that. You know, we're getting all these appetizers, but we're just waiting for the real main course, and then obviously towards the end we're going to get the lovely dessert. You know, depending on your preference, whether it's pudding, ice cream, cheesecake, whatever, it doesn't really matter. We're getting all kinds of different flavours of racing here at GTR 24H. It's been an enthralling display so far, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic, not devoid of action in the slightest. Still got battles occurring, Pro Sim and the 777, which is currently being piloted by Kyle Lukagor, separated by less than a second as well. And I think in every single class, with the exception, I say every single class we have seen battles, and right now that's still the case at the top of both of the GT classes. Of course, now PinSim Drillers are currently being piloted by Jan Woznica, and the 17 Drillers esports car piloted by, the Vargas Sim Racing 117 piloted by Daniel Vizner. They've checked out, they're a lap ahead of P2, but everywhere else we're seeing fantastic battles.
Yes, indeed. So the top we can only do the top two here in Hypercar at the moment, because it is Jan Woznica from PinSim Jewelers Esports that continues to lead, a lap ahead of Patrick Salvasi in the number 80 McLaren. Oh, Matthias Blom spins it! Matthias Blom spins it coming out of Maggots, and Donat Diesner pounced like a rat up a drain pipe and got past. I think that was just a bit too much overcommitment. He did a massive 360, did Matthias Blom, and that has given Donat Diesner the opportunity he needed as an LMP2 car. Now splits the pair of them, but that was quite a mistake from Matthias Blom in the number 13 Danish Racing League Ferrari 488 GT3. He's now on the back foot once again, but Donat Diesner placed the car exactly where he needed to, and it was just one mistake, and the number 13 did a 360 out of Maggots. That's not where you want that to happen, and I'm sure that Matthias Blom will be feeling a bit nervous after that one, and he'll have to commit a little bit less into that corner to keep the pace and keep going along with Donat Diesner. So that's a change in GT3 for what is now second position, and that goes to Donat Diesner after a massive spin for Matthias Blom there.
I actually think for Matthias Blom, after making that mistake, he's going to be able to see Donat Diesner up ahead, and I think that's going to fuel him. I think that's going to make him actually push that a little bit harder to try to get past Donat Diesner as quickly as possible and not let the number 41 Mugen Sim Racing car pull away. They're currently separated by less than a second, and let's see whether Matthias Blom can stick to the rear end of that McLaren 720S.
Yeah, so as we go on board, I think now with Matthias Blom, he's right in the train tracks of Donat Diesner, and they're now coming out of Luffield and then going into Woodcote. But Diesner in that McLaren, as an LMP2 literally spears between the pair of them. Matthias Blom looking to go one way, then the other, goes back into the slipstream, going through Cops Corner. We're now having a ding-ding, seconds out, round two sort of escapade, but this time it's Donat Diesner in front of Matthias Blom. Matthias Blom just keeps it nice and calm, making no mistakes here, takes less curb, going through Maggots now into Beckett's before they then exit through Chapel Curve. And in this particular occasion, the Ferrari will now have the momentum and the slipstream going down the hangar straight towards the right-hander at Stoke Corner.
Also update in the LMP2 class, James Zuber has made his way past Christopher Kianek and now has himself a 2-second lead and is still pulling out a gap. I believe he overtook him on the previous lap, so apologies for missing that. But Matthias Blom sticking with Donat Diesner as they start a new lap.
Yeah, so Donat Diesner keeping ahead at the moment in second position in GT3 as Paul Liner now pits in the number 67 Volante racing car from fourth in GTE after what has been 152 laps. The current leaders, Pinsim Drillers Esports, have completed, they're now on lap number 174 of this race, just over 3.66 miles here at Silverstone. A fantastic affair so far as the leader splits his way between, that was Woznica going between Blom and Diesner, and that was going down through into, looks to be Brooklands, I believe. So very good awareness there. Jan Woznica as all. Diesner goes a bit deep into Brooklands, now into Woodcote and then into Luffield. This is going to give Matthias Blom the absolute good run that he needs, but he's got the Juices Motorsport LMP2 car just behind. And and that was a very, very quick move there. Luca Gray now behind the wheel of that car. That's the junior team at Juices Motorsport, and he gets through. There's also the Apollonia Sport, Force Polonia car of Mika Hakimi, I believe, has just also got past them. And then there's another LMP2 car trying to get through in the meantime. And what that is giving is Diesner has now got a sizable advantage. And that gap was about half a second. It's now jumped up to nearly a second and a half. So Matthias Blom, through all those LMP2 cars coming through, has lost a bit of time. But through the longer straights, the McLaren seems to have a bit of a deficit in the Ferrari in the straight line speed aspect.
Yeah, the McLaren struggling to stick with Donat Diesner, but of course Donat Diesner was running quicker than Matthias Blom. He was closing back up to him, so not totally surprising that he's able to pull away. Let's see if Matthias Blom can find that extra little something just to be able to close back into Donat Diesner. The gap now 1.5 seconds. Also looking further up the order, Kyle Lukagor now 1.3 seconds behind ProSim. Christopher Kianek 4.9 seconds behind James Zuber, who has absolutely checked out. And right as I say that, the gap is now 10 seconds. I wonder if Christopher Kianek has actually made a mistake. No, never mind. He's just dived on into the pits.
So it looks like Luca Gray has also pitted in the number 15 Juices Motorsport car. That is effectively third and fifth in LMP2. So we're about to hit the halfway point in this hour of racing here at the Film Vault 12 Hours of Silverstone for the 2021 GTR 24H Endurance E-Racing World Championship. Round 2 out of 6, which concludes in late October with the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the season finale. We've got Sebring next month and a whole host of fantastic other events, which includes also a one-off special with the Nürburgring Nordschleife 24 Hours. If you remember last year's extravaganza, well, I think 2021 could be even better. You can head to all the relevant information on gtr24h.org for all the live timing. You can even find the local weather reports as well for the circuit itself. And in many respects, the weather at the minute, Yusuf, I'm just having a look on the official our official website, and at the moment it's currently 14 degrees Celsius. There's a northeasterly wind of around 3.3 meters per second, humidity of 88%, and the rain is currently at 0 millimeters. But in about, there's been a massive change on the weather front. Give it 3 hours, the predicted probability of rain is going to be 150%. And the
150%.
That's going to bring the rain from on a biblical proportion. But I think at the end of the day,
I hope you built Noah's Ark somewhere.
Has anyone got the Animals 2x2? Murad?
Don't worry, we've got Musto 2x2 in the GTE class.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think we've had a report that the local B&Q and DIY stores are running out of 2x4s in a minute. So yeah, I think we'll let that one lie, shall we?
Well, I'm looking out of my window right now, and I could show you a camera of this because I live about 2 hours from Silverstone. It is absolutely pouring. My garden is flooded. It is literally flooded with rain. I mean, it has to be a couple of centimeters. Pardon? Can I turn the camera? Okay. Two seconds, ladies and gentlemen. You will get to see. My camera may turn off. Hi, camera. I don't know if you can see, but you can see a little bit. I might have to get my camera out on my phone. No, the camera turned off.
Hang on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've lost visual. Houston, we have a problem.
Well, the good thing is that is actually I'm about an hour and a half away from where Yusuf lives, in the southeast, and it is raining here. There is I'm going to just now turn it back on myself, and hopefully I've got the camera position correct there for our producer Peter. Rain for the next hour. The precipitation is actually heavy. It's heavy. It is coming down. So we're getting the instant barrage, I think, to be honest.
I think now you can see the flooding. I think the flooding is now visual.
I can see that from here. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and literally the tarmac outside, the grass is completely saturated here where I live. And in many respects, I mean, I'm just keeping an eye as we sort of digressed to giving you actual live
weather footage.
Yes, exactly, from our own respective domiciles here in the United Kingdom, for myself and Yusuf. Matthias Blom goes up the inside of Donat Diesner. You were nearly calling it there, pretty much, but he tries to get up the inside of Donat Diesner. Diesner gets back at him and retakes the position, and that was going through into the loop after coming out of Village. So Matthias Blom went up the inside through the right-hander at Farm Curve, and they're going nearly side by side into the very next corner. That's going to be brave for Matthias Blom if he's going to try and put it on the inside. That's through into Brooklands. Has the Ferrari got past? Not yet. The McLaren gets back past, and trying to go past him will be... the thing was, I think Matthias Blom...
And that's DIS joining the party as well here.
Sorry?
And that is the DIS, the GTE car that's coming to lap them, and it might cause some changes in the potential battle.
Yeah, exactly. But Matthias Blom, who I'm just on board with at the moment, he's actually got the DIS car just behind him at the moment. As they now go through, that's through Copse Corner. Oh, the DIS car gets really close to Matthias Blom. Blom has to run a little bit wide coming out of Maggots, but as a result of that, that's lost him ground to Donat Diesner, who now will exit out of Beckett's, then through. Well, he's exited out of there, and I think in many respects, Donat Diesner, I think just might have just counted his chickens rather well there, Yusuf. That was a brilliant bit of display from both Matthias Blom and also Donat Diesner to have really good spaced awareness, but then it was the DIS car that decided to become piggy in the middle and spoil the party. But this is allowing Matthias Blom to close back on Donat Diesner right now.
absolutely fantastic stuff from Donat Diesner to get back past after that mistake that we saw before, where he had, as you described it, a 360 to come through. So let's see if Donat Diesner can now try to pull back ahead of Matthias Blom without making any potential mistakes.
Yeah, he's still ahead as through into Abbey. Donat Diesner literally hangs on by the skin of his teeth, let alone the back of his racing, his simulated racing overalls here in GTR 24H. It's now the DIS car trying to get past Diesner. This is going to allow Matthias Blom to close. The DIS car has yet to get past Donat Diesner as they come out of Aintree, now down the Wellington Straight down into Brooklands. As the DIS car just waiting to look and make that move up the inside, goes up the inside of Donat Diesner. Matthias Blom does not go late breaking into Brooklands there, but keeps on the tail of Donat Diesner. This is the battle for P2 and GT3 as they come out of Woodcote and Luffield. Diesner still has the advantage in the McLaren and that Ferrari. Matthias Blom is trying everything in the playbook to try and get past Donat Diesner there, and he hasn't been able to capitalise at this particular moment in time.
No, he hasn't. I also saw an incident further down the order involving, I think it was the 46 DIS car and one of the Volante cars as well, I think. So interesting to see that one unfold as, yeah, Donat Diesner holding on to the position.
Yeah, very much the case. Just seeing that the number 188 GT3 car of Teleforingen is in the pits at the moment. Bradley Brockies from E-Team Brit now in the pits. And also Saul Sanchez is in the pits. That's in the WOSR iZone Performance on this particular moment in time. So realistically, there are many drivers really trying to do their level best, but Matthias Blom has got past Donat Diesner and has retaken second position in GT3.
Yeah, back up to P3 goes Matthias Blom. Well, pardon me, P2. Donat Diesner down to P3. Of course, still leading the way is Alexander Zakharov. He's 49 seconds up the road from this battle. Don't count out, I almost said for a second, don't count out Saul Sanchez, but he's 7 seconds behind, but of course he is in the GTE class. Always confuses me. I always see a GT car behind another GT car and I think it must be a battle. And then I realise that no, one is in the GTE class. And then I get very sad.
It always happens, but ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a brief commercial break here on GTR 24H.
The 2021 Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 2, Film Bold 12 Hours of Silverstone, is brought to you in partnership with ESTV, Leap Gaming, SimLab, MotorVision.tv, Global Flix, Racing for Green, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to continuing coverage of the GTR 24H Film Vault 12 Hours of Silverstone. Alex Goldschmidt and Yusuf Bin Suhal back with you once again for the next 23 minutes or so. As we're deep into this race, we've got just over 6 hours and 20 minutes of this race still to go. Round 2 of the 6-round calendar, with Sebring, the 12 hours of Sebring, taking place in around 4 weeks' time at the fantastic Florida-based circuit. But Yusuf, just looking back, obviously Jan Wojcicki still leading in hypercar for Pinsim Drillers Esports. We saw that great overtake from James Juba on the 334 of Tony Janssen for second place in LMP2, but that's being led by Vargas Sim Racing's Daniel Vizner. Then we've also got Fabio Liuzzi still leading in the number 54 Musto GD Esports car, ahead of the sister car of the number 53.
We've also got our battle again happening between, or in the GT3 classes of Donat Diesner. Just tried to go around the outside of the loop. He couldn't quite make it work, but these two have been switching places for the last 10 minutes, and it's going to continue as well. Ferrari versus McLaren in the GT3 battle. Matthias Blom versus Donat Diesner.
Yeah, so they're really chancing their luck. The pair of them, they go through into Luffield and then into Woodcote, just past the BRDC clubhouse, which still remains at that site to this very day. And you can see just how hard they are pushing, all the while trying to get one up on each other. And the gap between them is 4.5 tenths of a second at this particular moment in time, as they both have completed 157 laps.
Yeah, our leading team, Jan Wojcicki, in that number 10 Pinsim Drillers Esports car, has completed 181 laps on to lap 182. Only 4 laps actually ahead of Daniel Vizner, who has completed 177 laps in the lead of the hypercar class. Vargas Sim Racing leading the way as per usual, and will be looking to take home a full bag of points.
Yeah, that's always the case. It is about scoring as many points as humanly possible. And one of the biggest things is that when they have to have that opportunity, these drivers are really going to go absolutely hammer and tongs. We are still waiting for that fateful bit of doom so effectively. That's all fine. I mean, these drivers are going to really push like crazy, and they can only go from there, can't they?
Yeah, precisely so. And we've just seen as well that the number 334 of Tony Janssen has pitted. Is now Max Scholten at the wheel of the Fair Racing team. And what that means that we're going to be seeing James Zuber pit, and indeed we do. So James Zuber is into the pits. Now, I'm very interested to see where James Zuber will feed out relative to Christopher Kianek, because don't forget, he pitted from being about 5 seconds ahead, and Christopher Kianek was on those better tyres. But meanwhile, we've still got a battle between our McLaren and Ferrari side by side into Brooklands and Luffield right now, Alex.
Yes, indeed. As Blom and Diesner side by side. Diesner pushing towards the outside of the Ferrari, and he gets past in an LMP2. That was brilliantly done by Donat Diesner there, as now Matthias Blom has got the headlights ablaze and is waiting to get that opportunity to roar his way back past. But Donat Diesner served him well and truly there. That was brilliantly done. Diesner just literally planted the McLaren, knew he had the confidence in the car, just powered round the corner, and then it looked like Matthias Blom was standing still in that Ferrari, let alone moving forward.
Yeah, when you're on the inside of the Luffield, it always feels like you're going so much slower on the nearest or on the closer radius of the corner. And you can see the Musto car in the background flashing its lights, just trying to alert the GT3 drivers. Hey, I'm coming through. I know you guys want to battle. Do you mind if you battle after I get past you? Which I think every single lap car will want to say. Matthias Blom having a little think about a move down into Club corner, but won't be able to do so. And it will be Donat Diesner back up into P2, and he can now start to try and extend a gap. Timotej Andonovski has actually come out of the pits 2 seconds ahead of Christopher Kianek in that battle for second place in the LMP2 class. So great stuff from Pinson's drillers. So they're leading the hypercar class and they're running second in the LMP2 class.
Well, there's been an absolute tussle towards the bottom of LMP2, courtesy of Mika Hakimi and Kim Pedersen, both in the respectively the 999 Astana Force Polonia, and Hakimi actually did the business. He got round Kim Pedersen and the DSR Dream Team 766, and now has extended the gap to around about 8.5 tenths of a second. An absolutely brilliant job. I think that was the name that it got you a bit tongue-tied. You thought it was a Finnish surname or something like that, wasn't it, if memory serves me correctly, Yusuf?
Yeah, it was. We had Oshin clarifying how to pronounce Finnish names. You have to elongate the first syllable and then do everything else really quick. So it's Hakimi, or yeah. I think it's. I'm exaggerating.
Yes, well, it's sort of like Raikkonen, you know, that kind of pronunciation.
Exactly.
And this comes from someone who speaks 3 different languages, unfortunately. My bad on that one. But yeah, I think.
Why are you apologising for speaking multiple languages?
Well, then. Yeah, well, the thing is that then at least if I say something to somebody that I work with, they can't understand what the hell I'm speaking about. Well, I did find that a bit to the contrary this morning before we went live on air, thanks to John Peter at GTR24H, where we all speak. I think quite a few of us were speaking German, which was. And yeah,
I was not there for this. I can confirm that.
Yes. I think you were having breakfast at the time, but that was completely understandable. And you and O'Leary pipes up in our chat here, and he goes, "Yeah, English people are meant to ignore other languages." Yeah, that's very, very true. That's very, very true. But it's getting rather close between Diesner and Blom once again. But they are being lapped at the moment, and just behind them, it's the 50. I think that is the 54 car, possibly, of Fabio Liuzzi that's trying to go up the inside of Matthias Blom, going through into Abbey, and Matthias Blom keeps it planted around the outside, and Liuzzi just gives him a flash of the lights as if to say, right, you're a slower car. Oh, they banged door panels. Oh, that was not what they wanted, and there's an LMP2 car just trying to get their way through. That was the 007 Prosim car, and then it's closing on the 54 of Liuzzi, and that was, I think in many respects, that has now given a lot of clear air for Donat Diesner to play with here in the McLaren 650S.
Yeah, the rules when it comes to lapping, if you are the driver being lapped, is you don't have to let the car behind through, but you must not defend the position. And that's what the stewards will have to decide if they have to investigate that incident between the Musto car and the number 13 of Matthias Blom's Danish Racing League car, as we actually just see Donat Diesner running wide on Kops, and maybe trying to get onto the power a bit earlier to stretch out a gap to Donat Diesner. But now he's going to have to let it through, I put in quotation marks, the Musto car.
Yeah, very much the case. And now Donat Diesner, I think, is being closed in on by Fabio Liuzzi, and that is going down the straightaway towards, I think that is Stoke Corner there. And now, Liuzzi going to the right-hand side of the number 41 McLaren from Mugen Sim Racing. And still, there's just under 14. Oh, Diesner nearly went into the back end of Liuzzi. And I think he might have just outbraked himself there. That was rather clumsy, I think, from Diesner, because that has now allowed Matthias Blom, who is now just over, what is it? That's not. And it looks like the thing is that with that, Matthias Blom is about 0.6 of a second behind Donat Diesner. So Diesner lost about half of the distance he had between himself and the number 13 Ferrari on that slight inadvertent exchange, which saw him nearly tag the back left of Fabio Liuzzi in the number 54 BMW M8 GTE.
Yeah, you can see from Matthias Blom's perspective that Donat Diesner is still well within his sights, and actually Matthias Blom under a second behind right now. Just looking at other gaps, Marco Massetti 21 seconds behind the number 54 of Fabio Liuzzi, still an Italian 1, 2, 3 in the GTE class. None of them actually driving Italian cars though.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that one because at the end of the day, they've decided we've got BMW and we've got General Motors involved there. But, you know, at the end of the day, the BMW M8 GT in its own right was a true powerhouse. It's still being used in IMSA with Team RLL, Lanigan Racing, who obviously, if people did watch the official Rolex 24 at Daytona, Bruno Spengler and Kevin Estre came together before even the green flag flew at the circuit ahead of 24 hours of racing. But the M8 in its own right is still a pretty quick car in its own right. But Matthias Blom is now very much up close and personal with Donat Diesner. This battle for second position in GT3 has yet to get sort of like be pacified in any respect, because now Matthias Blom is looking as best as he can to try and steal one up the inside.
Yeah, and well, Donat Diesner right now is having to defend for his life's worth, and we know that Matthias Blom is quick. He's closing in as well, but I just can't help but feel that we just keep seeing Donat Diesner running a little bit wide on corner exit. It just seems that he's struggling with that front end tire grip. We've seen it through Cobbs, we've seen it through Maggis and Beckers, we see it through Stowe, and Matthias Blom just seems to be able to hold slightly tighter lines around these corners.
Yeah, very much the case. Just seeing that the E-Team Brit car, the number 68 in LMP2, looks to have Matt Webb now coming out of the pit lane after they have completed so far 177 laps. And that is currently 5 off of the leaders in that class. Still the 117 Varga Sim Racing LMP2, piloted by Daniel Wisner. So yeah, I think also there's another car in the pits in a minute. Well, Daniel Wisner, as I say that, has now pitted from the lead of LMP2, has a lap in head of Andonovski from the number 17 Binsim Drillers Esports. But Matthias Blom still looking rather racing, still keeping pace with Donat Diesner in this intensifying battle. The gap now down to half a second. And what's more here, Yusuf, is that Matthias Blom last time was half a second quicker than Donat Diesner on the previous lap, as there's an LMP trying to make their way through.
Yeah, just over 6 hours remaining. We've almost reached the halfway point of the race, and we can still see Matthias Blom firmly behind Donat Diesner in this battle for second place in the GT3 class. They're about a minute behind Alexander Zakharov, who is leading the GT3 class.
Yes, indeed. Still plenty of time left to go in this race, and it looks like, yep, Fabio Liuzzi in the GTE class lead now pits in the number 54 Musto GD Esports car. That is going to give the lead to Marco Mazzetti in the sister BMW, the number 53, and Jan Woznica in the Senna GTR hypercar from Drillers Esports now pits on lap number 188. And is there going to be, I'm just keeping an eye on whether there is going to be a change with, in the 54 car, because Fabio Liuzzi so far has been doing a really good job keeping it nice and consistent, making his way through back market traffic nice and neatly, and no one really getting in the 54's way. So this is where it's all dependent on how long these pit stops take. Are they going to do a driver change? Is Liuzzi going to relinquish control of that car and put someone in there that's going to give every other driver a lot of run for their money? This is going to give Eros Masciuli in the Pescara ADG number 7 car an opportunity possibly to get past in the pit stop phase, and that gap is rather dwindling rather quickly. I think Fabio Liuzzi staying in that car for Musto GD Esports, and he might just come out ahead of Eros Masciuli in the battle for second position for GTE at this particular moment in time.
They're just going to jump on board with the Eros Masciuli. And I think you can see for about 4 seconds up the road is Fabio Liuzzi in his BMW, making his way into Brooklands. Yeah, you can see just up ahead of Eros Masciuli. So Harris not able to jump ahead after the pit stop, so he's just going to have to focus on this third place position that he's built up for himself. DIS a further 33 seconds down. Remember, DIS finished the opening race at Indianapolis in third place. I mean, they said that it was something that they felt very lucky to have gotten, especially with the incidents that happened to the likes of Musto and Volante. But here at Silverstone, it's been pure pace that has brought them up to fourth position.
Yes, indeed. And now Woznica has now changed out of the car, and now Henry Sinnick now retakes the wheel of the number 10 Pinsim Drillers Esports car, as Matthias Böhm trying to get up the inside of the number 67 Volante car, which has got Orlan just behind the wheel. And there's two LMP2 cars, one going to the right, one going to the left, down into what is, I think that is down the Wellington Straight into Brooklands, and one of them I think might be, I'm not too sure, I was trying to keep an eye on which car that was, as now Henry Sinnick winding up that car, that McLaren Senna GTR hypercar, still keeping the lead. There's still a lap ahead, but at the moment that was a pretty good pit stop there for Pinsim Drillers Esports there, Yusuf, but they still hold a lap lead, and then it's dependent on when Patrick Silvassi decides to pit at any given moment. But we're about to hit the top of the hour once again to actually hit exactly 6 hours on the clock. Still to go. It's been rather enthralling so far.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, I'm still very jealous of the weather at Silverstone, because I'm looking at the track and I see sunshine, it all looks pretty nice, and then I look outside of my window and it's pouring down with rain. So maybe I think I need to move to Silverstone somewhat. We'll have to see. Might be something for the future. But 4 hours until definite rain, 2 hours until possible rain to come through. Actually, Alex, I made a bet with my brother earlier on today. Have you ever seen the show How I Met Your Mother?
Yes.
Do you remember the kind of bets that they make in How I Met Your Mother?
Oh no. Okay, go on, lay it on us, go on.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know what happens in How I Met Your Mother, there's this thing called a slap bet. So whoever wins gets to slap the other person across the face. So I made with my brother, so I said, I looked at the weather, it's going to snow later today. And my brother looks outside, he's like, but look, there's sun, it's not going to snow today. So, long story short, we made a bet. I reckon it's going to snow before midnight, and he doesn't think it will. So one of us is going to get slapped extremely hard across the face by the end of the night.
So someone's going to have a residual red mark on either the left or right hand side of their face this evening. Oh, that's a first. But an interesting bet nonetheless. And what's the probability of snow happening where you are at the moment?
Well, that's the thing. I then looked Silverstone. It showed like it was going to rain and it would be sub-zero by 11. Where I am, it's only going to get sub-zero by about 1 a.m. So things aren't looking good right now.
Oh, and there has been a penalty for the number 67 Volante car, and it didn't respect there was no respect shown to the 188 GT3 car of Ted Follingen, with Gert Nielsen now behind the wheel, entering the track from the pits. So, that's not a good thing whatsoever. And again, the 67 Volante car is currently running. That would have been possibly I would have thought from pit exit, so that would have been rejoining onto the track out of the International Wing Complex. So, yeah, the 67, that could put possibly Paul Larnett behind, but still obviously in the number 66 sister Aston Martin. So again, the 66 seems to be keeping its nose out of trouble, whereas the 67 seems to get that proverbial slap on the wrist.
Yeah, and Volante, we remember they were definitely involved in a lot of incidents at Indianapolis. To be fair to them, they've been involved in a lot less here at Silverstone. I think this is the only incident or incident report that I've seen from the race stewards where they have been involved in something and been at fault.
Yeah, it looks like it was turn 3 So obviously coming out of the exit, so that would have been possibly going into Village, because that is turn 3 on the circuit, as we're using the international pit straight rather than the national pit straight, because if it was turn 3, that would be Beckett's. Yeah, that's going to be, I think they're going to be kicking themselves a little bit after that one, because they are currently running, they're actually running P5 in GTE, and that would put them...
I was just going to say, would turn 3 be Beckett's, or would it still be Maggott's? Because isn't technically Maggott's 2 corners?
Well, it is and it isn't. There's this sort of like 50-50. I'm just calling it as I see it, and normally turn 3, if you've got a corner name, that's what you associate it with. So for me, it would be, I think, I probably would think it would be when you're going out of Maggott's and into Beckett, so it's sort of like that halfway house, if you will. But for the benefit of that, for the viewers at home and also for the listeners on the official radio podcast feed that we've got going via our website, I'm going to call it Beckett's. It's like on that...
Every time I go and look at the Spa-Francorchamps track map, and I look at the last part of the sector where you come out of Pouhon, that's all good. But then it's like the next 4 corners, nobody actually knows the names. They don't know which one's Campus, which one's Stavelo, and which one's like Paul Frere and Old Lady. And you look at different track maps and like labels them all differently.
Yeah, I mean, Campus is the right-hander before Stavelo.
Okay.
Paul Frere is after Stavelo. I think
so then it's a Fagnier chicane before Campus.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. There's quite a lot of differentiations on that front as well. But Spa, an iconic track, just over 7 kilometres in its own right. But yeah, I think just sort of like going back to the racing itself, there's a lot of drivers really picking up the pace, and it looks like Andonovski in Jules Esports car, number 17. Has done a good lap last time around, a 1 minute 47.492. That was nearly 2 seconds quicker than Daniel Vishner in the 117 from Varga Sim Racing. Battles seem to be stretching out a little bit now. We can now see that Donald Diesner is ahead of Matthias Blom, and that is by about a second and a half. And Henry Cynic in the Pinsim Drillers Esports car still leading the way on what is now lap 193. It's just going to be rather interesting over the next hour or so, as we are fast approaching the halfway point here at the Film Vault 12 Hours of Silverstone, here live and uninterrupted on GTR 24H for the second round of the 2021 GTR 24H Endurance E-Racing Championship. We're going to go to a brief commercial break, and after that we'll be right back with the action uninterrupted.
Stewards decision. Car 53 to 30 seconds, stop and go.
The 2021 Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 2, Film Vault 12 Hours of Silverstone, is brought to you in partnership with ESTV, Leak Gaming, SimLab, MotorVision.tv, Global Flix, Racing for Green, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.